Book Festival. I'm doing a video for all the minions. Go away, yeah. There, Landy has just walked into the hall and he's coming on stage. Right, you, whatever. Shut up. It's for the vlog, right? There's about maybe over 50 kids or something here, so delightful. Just pretend I'm not here.
2 1 2 2 1 2
3 4. How are you?
You're all very welcome to the town hall this afternoon for Dalkey Book Festival. Before we begin, to point out that our fire exit is here on my left, towards the hall, and that's through the door through which you came. We go to the bathroom in the middle of the hall here. And if you have your cell phone on you, please ensure that it is switched off now, or you can put the rest of your running. Okay, so with 17 million books sold in 33 languages worldwide, it's fair to say that their Landy plans for world domination are well underway. These books full of recycled fans around the world, numerous awards and accolades, and of course, being such a modern man, I'm sure he wouldn't want us to go on anymore. So would you all please give a very warm welcome to Landy.
Hi. What I usually do is I usually talk a bit about myself, which is, as you can imagine, awesome. And then in the second half of the event, you guys ask me questions about myself. So, for someone as humble as me, it's really embarrassing, but I struggle through. So basically it's like an hour of me. So it'll probably be the best hour of your lives. Again, honest. How are you?
Good. Good, grand.
Happy.
Yeah, and because of that moment of interplay, of bonding, where you feel closer to me now, you know, you stop looking at me like some kind of a demigod or God, or just, you know, as a person. Now you see me as a person because we pre-bonded. And because we have bonded, I care about you. So I would like to. But who here has read any of the books what I've written? Put your hand down, don't embarrass me. Because when I was started, and I was sent out to, you know, like the first book was out in 2007, wow. And my publishers sent me out a few months before the book was out. Around schools in London, and so I was doing events like this in schools in London before anyone had read any of my books and before anyone knew who I was. So it was pretty much me in front of like 500 teenagers in school uniforms who really didn't want to be there, and they didn't know who I was and what I was doing, or no one read anything I'd written. So it's always nice to come to a thing, and when I ask that, has anyone read anything I've written in school? So it makes me feel good. I'm going to tell you a bit about myself, a bit about my life, leading up to here. I was born, and then I grew up. And so that's pretty awesome. Some things happened in between, you know. I went to school. Well, I walked by it. I knew where it was. And that's, I think, the important thing. In school, my subjects were always English and art. So I was always either going to be an artist or a writer. And see, I messed up the Leaving Cert, and I had to repeat the Leaving Cert the following year, and I barely scraped by because I hadn't learned my lesson. And then I went to college. I went to art college, and it was a fantastic course. I studied animation, and I had a brilliant time. And it was a 3-year course, and I got expelled after the first year. So Don't go! It gets better! It's always better! Right? I'll get you, boy. No one walks out of one of my things. The people at the back in the red t-shirts, if anyone goes to leave, could you hit them really hard? Who here wants to be a writer? Okay, I like it, okay. I always wanted to be a writer since I was, born. I was a very bad fetus. So I knew I always wanted to be a writer. The thing, after I got kicked out of college, I had to spend the next 10 years working on the family farm, which is something that I swore I would never do because I hated it so much. But it was while I was working on the farm that I realized, okay, I messed up in school, I messed up in college, I messed up with all of these things that were handed to me. And so I only had one chance left to have a happy life, and that is to make it as a writer. So I focused, for the first time in my life, I was determined to do something. So because writing was the one thing I had messed up, I was determined to make a success out of that. So I taught myself how to write screenplays. And I had 2 movies made, and they were awful, as you can imagine, because yeah, okay, so I figured it was time to take something seriously, so I took writing seriously. I got my 2 films made. They didn't set the world on fire, they didn't make me really get money, they didn't move me out of my parents' house, they didn't send me to Hollywood, which is where I wanted to go, but still, this was my first step. This was confirmation that I was good enough to be a writer. But the thing about being a writer is that the difference between a life of happiness and a life of struggle is a moment. It is literally a moment. Because I had the idea for Skullduggery Pleasant while I was over in London in 2005 to try and get my next film made. And I was in my hotel room, a horrible hotel room, in the middle of London, in the middle of the summer. It was on the 7th floor. There was no air conditioning. The windows wouldn't open. It was stifling hot. It was the only hotel I could afford. It was really cheap, really horrible. And the idea for Skullduggery Pleasant just popped into my head. And it's that moment that changed my entire life. And now I am praised because as a writer, you're going to struggle and you're going to be rejected again and again and again. You're going to like doubt your own ability, your own talent, your own ideas. But because I have made it, everyone tells me, you're great because you kept the faith. You were sure of yourself, you were sure of your own ability, you kept to the dream, you didn't let it fly away. No matter what happened, you stayed strong, you believed in yourself, and you made it. So I am lauded for keeping the dream and for being a dreamer. But if I didn't have that moment of Skullduggery Pleasant popping into my head, I would have spent the last 10 years on the farm, I would have been a struggling writer. And from the age 30 to now, that's 7 years, I would be struggling again. So I would spend 17 years struggling to be a writer. And if I didn't have that moment of skullduggery, I would be condemned for being a dreamer who deluded himself into believing he was a writer. So, which is not to say that being a writer is a bad thing. It has its own rewards, money, if you're lucky enough to sell a book, fame, if you're lucky enough to have anyone who cares about your book. But it's a lonely endeavour, and I'm just glad I have, my cats, and my dogs, and all my toys. The Alan Tishmarsh show. And when I went onto the stage, the audience was full of old people because it shows in the middle of the day. And all these grannies. And I don't mean like grannies with young grannies. Like my mom is a granny and she's young. She's in her 60s, that's young. But I mean people who should be dead. And flamboyant, very gay, very handsome and charismatic individual, and I knew, he was going to dominate everything. And the audience would be on his side because he's famous and he's handsome and they know who he is and he's charming and stuff. And I knew I didn't have a chance unless I charmed the audience before the camera started rolling. So as we were sitting down, I said, wow, this audience has to be the best looking audience I've ever seen. And all the little days went, oh. So now they cheered for me, not for Barrowman. Do any of you guys have any questions?
Do you have any other further here?
Oh. If you have a microphone, you have to sing.
Don't give it to me then.
Was the idea of skullduggery or of magic or of battery or...
The idea, that's a good question. I like your style. I have the question and you just flick your hair. I've got nothing against you. The idea, bizarrely, was the name, Skullduggery Pleasant. And I wasn't thinking about like a skeleton detective and I was searching around for an appropriate name. I can't remember really what I was thinking about. It wasn't about books, it wasn't about writing. I was literally standing in the middle of my hotel room. And I remember that I was standing in the middle because there was nothing in my room to do. I thought, oh, I'll start here now. And the name Skullduggery Pleasant just popped into my head. And skullduggery is an old word. It means something mischievous or suspicious or vaguely criminal. So Skullduggery told me he was a detective, because this is the kind of thing he investigated. The skull part told me he was a skeleton. The Pleasant told me he was well-dressed and sophisticated and intelligent. So his name told me who he was and what he was and what he was like. And from that moment on, I had him. But ideas, they've never come to me like that before, and they haven't again, because it was so unusual that Skullduggery Pleasant, they popped two random words, unconnected words, popped into my head as a name. And that is the moment that changed my entire life. If I hadn't had that moment, I wouldn't be where I was, because I could have struggled to get my next film in. So I probably would have had a few more films, but I couldn't be writing books. And I don't think I would be as awesome as I am now. At the front. Run, microphone, lady, run. Have you forgotten your question?
Yes.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Oh my God, my ears.
What's your favourite skullduggery book?
So you're a ventriloquist. Well, I could afford that guy out. You are something else. My favourite skullduggery book is... Okay, the best one is always the latest one, because the latest one, as a writer, you learn as you go. And, the fact is, when I pick through the first book, I go, don't like that line. If I could change that line, I could, I would so much. So you learn as you go and you improve as you go. So the best one, in my opinion, is always the one I've just finished. My favourite one has to be the first one, because I wrote it in 6 months when I was working on the farm. So I'd work on the farm and I'd be thinking about it, and I'd think about it, and think about it, and then the moment lunchtime came, or the moment the day was over, I went in and I was fighting away. And so to me, in my memory, that 6 months were great, because I was writing for me, I wasn't writing for anyone else. I didn't know if anyone would ever read the book or like it or publish it. That wasn't the point. The point was I was having fun. I was writing a book for the first time. And it was amazing. Because after films, after working in movies, when the writer is the most important person up until a certain point, then the director comes in, the financiers and the producers, and they kind of take your script away from you, and all you can do is struggle and try to keep it as good as it can when all these changes are going on. So you lose control. With books, I'm in control totally. So that was my first experience of that, and I loved it. So yeah, the first book is my favourite.
Who's your biggest writing competition? Who do you think is you should be wary of?
So like, who is my rival?
Yeah.
Who should I kill? I like a question. It's a bit dark. But I think they're all targets, we're all friends. Who should I kill? Darren Shan.
Knew it.
To kill Darren Shan?
Don't.
Darren Shan is a very nice guy.
I can read
Which means he wouldn't put up much of a fight. I like your style. My main rivals, adversaries, enemies, if you will, I don't know, I suppose Owen Colfer, he'd be writing around the same age group as I am, but I'd never kill Owen, he looks like a wizard. You can't kill a wizard, you might get cursed. So bizarrely enough, you don't really think about things like that when you're a writer. You would imagine you do, but you don't. Really, the only writer I would happily, name in terms of writing, not physically, I'm not, Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah!
I can see by some faces that some girls don't agree with me. All I would say is that for me and Skullduggery, Valkyrie, she's based on a real person, okay? She's based on a friend of mine. Because when I realized that Skullduggery was, yes, he's the title character, but the main character is going to be a girl, a teenage girl. So when I realized the main character was a girl, I based her on a friend of mine. Because, I knew when she was like 12, I knew when she was like 14, 16, 18, I knew how she, broke up with her first boyfriend, her second boyfriend, how she dumped her third boyfriend, her fourth boyfriend, how she's about to dump her fifth boyfriend, who doesn't know that yet. But I know her, and because of that, Valkyrie has remained strong, she's remained consistent. Valkyrie, unlike a certain other character in a certain hugely selling phenomenon, when she has an argument with her boyfriend, she doesn't curl up on a forest floor and cry herself to sleep.
Brilliant.
I could stand up here and talk for ages about how bad Twilight is in the striking top.
What is the new book going to be about?
The new book is called Kingdom of the Wicked, and it's about that cake. Oh, the story. The story, well, it's about, people.
Go on.
It's about emotions, it's about things happening in places. Really, it's about the human spirit and what it means to be human. And sometimes it's about walking. Sometimes there is one moment where she picks up a cup. Cups. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for how we live, how we interact with each other. And cups. There are many layers. It's like a cake. The book is about cake. The book is about, there is kind of like a virus that is affecting the mortal population, the normal people, and it is infecting them with magic, and suddenly they can do magic, and as mortals they are ill-prepared to do magic. So it is harmful and destructive and something bad is going to happen. And that is all in the first few pages. But it goes on from there. How long do we have left? 2 more questions? Okay, who has the best now? Whenever I ask who has the best questions, right? I asked this one in school, and who was the best final question ever? Are you sure? And all these ones, yeah. And there was one guy in the front row, and he was standing up, and his arm was in the air, and he was shaking. I thought he was the best person. And he was shaking and shivering around, and wow, you really look like you have a question that is burning inside you. Oh, I do! Are you sure it's the best question? Yes! Because if it's not the best question, everyone around you who wants to ask a question will hit you. You go, it's the best question. You go, okay, what is your question? What's your favorite cheese? Yes, it's an important question. But it's more of a mid-question and answer question than an ending, you know? It was actually you, but go ahead.
Who's your favourite character in Scrubby Pleasant?
Okay. My favourite character. See, I love fighting Skullduggery, but because he is who he is, and he has the past that he has, I never get inside his head. So I prefer the characters that where it's from their point of view. And from that point of view, I would say Valkyrie is my favourite because she is awesome. She started out, she was 12, now she's 17. Actually, she's about to turn 18 in the book that I'm about to start. And she is my favorite and I have to love her because not only is she the character I spend most of my time with, and I have to love that character, but she's also the only one who's based on a real person. And if I didn't say she was my favorite, then the real Valkyrie would hit me. She has a tendency to throw things at me, like mugs. She'd throw a mug at me. So that would be my favorite good guy. My favorite bad guy? It's a cross between Scapegrace and Scapegrace. I love Scapegrace because he's a complete moron. And he started out, he thought he was the ultimate killer, then he was killed, brought back as a zombie, then he was burned, and he started falling off. And in the next book, he is a head in a jar. And that is so much fun, to write a head in a jar. So Scapegrace is one of my favorite bad guys. My other favorite bad guy, and really she's just been around for the last few books, is Darkey. From punching someone's brain out of their skull. Who wouldn't love that? So Darkey is my favorite real bad guy. Scapegrace is my favorite wannabe bad guy. And Valkyrie is just awesome. So, yeah. Okay, now one question over here. And in the check shirt over there.
How many books do you think you'll write in the entire series?
Okay. There are 6 up now. There will be 9. Okay? Yeah. 9, not 9 books. It was always a 9-book series. It was always 3 sets of 3. So the first trilogy was about the Faceless Ones. The second was about the Necromancers. And the third trilogy is about Darkey. From Kingdom of the Wicked, which is book 7, to the next 2. And as I said earlier, I don't know how it ends. I don't know if the characters live or die. I really want them to live. I do, because I love writing them. And I would love if they got a happy ending. But sometimes as a writer, you don't have a choice. But as the series draws to a close, and so many plot threads get tied up, and so many stories reach their natural end, the characters reach their natural end. And is it better to like burn out or fade away? You know, is Skullduggery as a character, does a future where he just walks off into the sunset, does that suit him more than, for instance, sacrificing himself to save Valkyrie? That would be more dramatic. As a writer, that would be huge. But as a fan, I don't want that to happen. So I literally do not know how the final book ends. But they are 9 books, not 3 trilogies, and yeah. But before you applaud, I just want you to realise that this is the best moment of your life. Look at me and gaze. And thank you, you were wonderful. I'm sorry I was late. It wasn't my fault. There were loads of slow people on the road. Don't worry, I knocked most of them down.